What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So it looks as though we have a ceasefire and a path to peace between recent hostilities between Pakistan and India. And I thought it'd be a great time to come back and review kind of what just happened and what did we learn? What can we take away from this situation? And immediately one has to assume, and you don't want to degrade such a tragic, unfortunate event into winners and losers, but it really looks as though Pakistan got the best of this encounter with India, at least from a PR and strategic point of view. And this is why I believe this. We saw primarily that Pakistan, with this attack from India, was on a verge of uniting the Islamic world with the exclusion of Afghanistan, which Pakistan has been having some issues with. And on top of that, India was woefully prepared to back up the actions that it took. So this all stems from a tragic terrorist attack where dozens of people lost their lives, and India counterattacked. And this was not that attack. This was not that attack that India needed to be so aggressive. It seems as though India was so quick to attack Pakistan, so quick to blame Pakistan. And don't forget, Pakistan is always suffering and under duress from terrorist organizations. It's the nature of the beast, the region they're in, the ethnic composition of their country, and some of the alliances they made, and that Pakistan finds itself in this perilous situation. And I always say, I got a video out there why you should be scared of Pakistan. I constantly say Pakistan is probably the most dangerous country in the world, and this situation proves that point. And I'll tell you why. We recently got the ceasefire, but I think the reason why India was woefully prepared is I think India thought they can come in, son, big bro, and I use this lamest term, basically talk down or push down on Pakistan, which they feel is obviously not as big as and strong as India. They thought they would come in, push down on Pakistan, and Pakistan would just take it, or they would shriek away from this conflict and push for, or be so caught off guard that they'll push away from the table. But that's not what happened. Pakistan leaned in. Not only did Pakistan lean in, but countries that have put Pakistan at the center of their geostrategic goals, Turkey, China, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Like, you don't understand how vital Pakistan is. And that's why I say big bro, because as far as the Islamic world is concerned, Pakistan, in my opinion, is the most powerful country of that coalition. They are the most powerful Islamic country in the world. They may not have the economy at this stage yet, but the capacity, the growth, the trajectory is all there. And all these other countries that maybe they're succeeding in some things, obviously Turkey is the most balanced of these countries, but you have Pakistan may not have the economy, but guess who does? Saudi Arabia, UAE, and they were not going to let India bully Pakistan in this situation. And let alone China, who I have constantly talked about. Pakistan is probably China's most sincere and trusted ally. These guys go back. It's very understated because a lot of people don't picture the Chinese and Pakistan in a room together going over maps, but they are tightly wound together historically, strategically. They have a common enemy, perceived or actual, within India. And Pakistan allies came to their defense. That's why I say this wasn't the event. Nobody believed that Pakistan was trying to surprise attack India. Nobody believed Pakistan was trying to have some aggression towards India. It was an attack that occurred, a terrorist attack that occurred. India accused Pakistan. India went on the attack. And they had a very, very bad strategy of doing so. They didn't have global buy-in. And this is welcome to the big show, India. India's obviously, as I constantly talk about the tripolar world, it's not as easy as it looks. A lot of what we would perceive the West, such as America or Israel, these things they get away with. In the case of, you can say Russia and Georgia, a lot, or even right now, Russia and Ukraine, a lot of these things that these countries, which you perceive they're just getting away with, blazing aggression, behind the scenes, there are great political moves being done to ensure the ferociousness of the attack, to give the attack that strength that it needs. This is why Americans go fight in Afghanistan, win or lose for 20 years, for 2 decades. It's because America was constantly working on its alliances, willing and dealing, to ensure that it had enough backing that it didn't have to retreat. It wasn't going alone, right? And this was a great example whether you talk about Afghanistan or Iraq. It wasn't about being right or wrong. These were logistical nightmares for America. These are countries on the other side of the world, but America was able to go in and sustain them for a long duration because of the political back ends that they had. India needs to understand that. I think they just looked at it as, we're bigger than Pakistan. This is our subcontinent. We do what we want, because they were feeling themselves, because they've been growing. America's having issues with China, and India demographics have, economy has been rising. Its demographics has pretty much been one of the supporting pillars of a faltering Russia, as India consumption is able to help supplement Russia in its time of great duress due to sanctions. So I think India, for numerous reasons, were feeling themselves, and they talk too much to the Israelis too much. India, you're not Israel yet. You can't do what Israel do yet, because Israel is a master. They don't have a fraction of the capacity of India, but Israel is a master of diplomacy, and they know how to move things around the table and what they can and can't get away with. They push it to the edge, but at least they know their edge. And I think India didn't really take the precautions necessary. They didn't get the buy-in necessary. They didn't have the conversations necessary to do what they thought they can get away with. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to go back. India takes great pride in being the home of chess. They would need to go back and look at the chessboard again. They need to understand, work on those relationships with Afghanistan. Charge some of these relationships to the game. Charge some of these relationships to a game. There may be opportunities. Like, you're never going to be able to get Turkey against Pakistan, or get Saudis to turn on Pakistan. And China's always going to be an issue when you're dealing with Pakistan, and that's okay. But India, you got to understand your players. You know, what leeway do you have with Russia? That's going to be tight right now because of Russia and China. But I assure you, Russia-China situation is an illusion in the short term. So, India, Russia, are you talking to Vietnam? Are you on the phone with Afghanistan? Are you on the phone with Japan? Are you developing relationships in Africa? Africa. Like, this is so important to India, and I think they're underestimating this. India has great access to Africa, as an opportunity, as an outlet for a diaspora, as a market where they can add intense value add if they invest there. Africa has immense natural resources, hard natural resources that India need, as well as developing relationships with Australia. Like, if India came in there and had a strong relationship and backing and strategic relationship with Australia, Kenya, I'll give you any East African country, but I'll go Kenya, Afghanistan, Japan, Vietnam, they would have been a lot better off than this go-it-alone attack that they carry out on Pakistan. And they would have got the green light from America and say, look, America, because it would amaze me. I remember a few days ago when they asked President Trump on a plane, you know, what do you think? And he said something crazy like they've been fighting for thousands of years, which hasn't been necessarily the case. But it was talking about they were so laissez-faire, and he may have been coy because he knew there were talks in the background. Soon as I saw this happen, I was like, somebody need to get on the phone. And what I suspected would happen, even to a higher degree than what I expected it to happen. 'Cause what happened was India attacked Pakistan, and Pakistan came back, and they kept escalating. I thought they go 2 or 3 rounds. America would step in diplomatically, which did happen, but it took a little more imploring than I thought it would be. And they would squash this. But these guys were going head to head to head to head, and they were digging their heels in, and Pakistan just didn't care. I think Pakistan thought this was existentials, and they were ready to go to bat for it. They say, whatever level you want to go, we can go. And it reminds me of a grizzly bear, like in a Wolverine, or a bear and a Wolverine crossing each other in the forest. It's not that the bear can't take out the Wolverine. India, of course, is immensely more powerful than Pakistan. It's just that the bear knows the Wolverine would scar it and wound it to such a degree that it would be hard for the bear to carry on and survive on its own volition in the wild. And that was the situation here. Pakistan proved to be the Wolverine. Pakistan said, if you want to go there, we can go there. We're ready for this. And Pakistan has an immense, that's what I say, I don't think Pakistan wanted this at all. Pakistan has its hands full with internal turmoil, whether from a political point of view, well, primarily from a political point of view. But it's also that political point of view is reinforced by actual violence between secessionist groups, terrorist groups, etc. So Pakistan has its own problems internally. That's why I don't think this was some act of aggression on India, and I think India took it too far. And once Pakistan started to show up, and you had some of this deep sea stuff going on, where you got some of the weapons that were from China, some of the aircraft support from China was actually outdoing some of the aircraft, the RAFs, or some of the aircrafts that India had. Like, India were coming in, I think one air battle, it was 70 Indian pilots, 70 Indian fighter jets versus 40 Pakistanis. Pakistan lost 0 fighters, and I think India lost 5 or something like that. But India had to back down. India had to back down from the Pakistani Air Force, even though the Pakistanis were outnumbered. And that's when you know it's going to be a long day. When you have the numbers advantage and you're still not able to turn that into swift victory. So it was going to be a grind. And this shows Pakistan's going to go there. It's a reason why when America thought Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan, they sent an army and invaded Afghanistan. When America thought Osama bin Laden was in Pakistan, which he was, they sent the SEAL team. And you didn't hear about it until it was done with, right? America didn't send an army into Pakistan. And people know why. These guys, they're willing to go there. They're very sensitive, and they will see any attack on them existential. Fair enough. Fair enough. Their political problems have made them intensely paranoid, probably in good order. And that's why it's not a country to play with. That's why I say you should be scared of Pakistan, because they're so insecure that I think they're willing to go to a severe degree. Severe degree. And also you can see, although they have a lot of turmoil going on, they have their fair share of friends that find them to be very important geostrategically. China, if you look at China is isolated. It's kind of on an island geographically. It doesn't look that way because you can see the land connections. But when you look behind that land, you got the mountains of southwest China and Tibet, immense mountains you can't really pass. You have this desert to the north. They say the desert is so dry it rivals Saudi Arabia in its aridity. And you have like a slight steep pass that goes through the northwest country. This is the old Silk Road. But if you travel that through Central Asia, who's the master of Central Asia? Central Asia is landlocked. And the most sure way to get resources globally to and from Central Asia is through Pakistan. But of course it's always problems because you got the Balaks down there, Balakistan region, and it's some terrorists. People worry about terrorism in that area. But the most efficient ways to get things in and out of Central Asia is is Pakistan. This is a highly strategic country for China. Because if you remember in World War II, China being a one coastal nation, what happened? The Japanese cut them off from global trade, and they needed access through the Burma Road through Southeast Asia. Basically, they had a road or a pathway through Myanmar to get out to the Indian Ocean. But that was when Japan on the East Coast was the number one enemy. The Chinese know if India is the number one enemy, right? They can't rely on that pathway because India is going to flank it. They have to, throughout global trade, and let's say that India is able to utilize Japan, that leaves China only one access, and that's through Central Asia. This is a highly strategic part. And the most efficient route through Central Asia is, of course, as I said, Pakistan. Pakistan is very geostrategically important to what China is trying to accomplish on a global stage. So, especially in counteracting India, which I believe has China flanked on many, many areas of its geography. So, it's an unfortunate turn of events, but it's fortunate as though we do have a ceasefire. But what we saw was Pakistan is willing to go there. And I've said this before, I've had a SWOT presentation with India. I say India should pursue a process of peace on the subcontinent, big as they become the big bro, and try to build relationships with Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and try to mitigate China influence through peace and diplomacy on a subcontinent. I don't think they're so big and strong. I feel that they're secure enough to be able to create this relationship. And in the meantime, they really need to start working on their geographic and geostrategic strategy. Pep talks from Israel ain't gonna cut it. They're gonna need strong alliances within the region and countries that can really support them, and they don't have to worry about China cutting off access to them. Because real or perceive the threat of India to China, China is going to make sure they're in a place to neutralize India if need be. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think transpired with this whole India-China situation. Just glad to see at this moment cooler heads prevail because I do think things could have escalated significantly further. So like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.